Heads up, my code Dalek gets you 30% off your order at gfuel.com right now. Check the link in the description if you're interested. I can't quite believe this, but over 4 years since release, something very big has just been discovered with Black Ops 3 Zombies. If you've been on the Zombies journey since BO3, then you are going to be right at home here. Have a real nostalgia trip about this entire scenario and what has just been discovered. So I highly advise you to watch this entire video through from start to finish because you're going to learn something new and it's very, very awesome. Cast your minds back to 2015 with the release of Black Ops 3 and Shadows of Evil. Scattered around that map and the subsequent maps that followed were scribbles and images of a completely new language Treyarch had created just for zombies. Now this was a big deal because this was the first time Treyarch had ever gone through so much effort in zombies to create a brand new language to layer multiple secrets for us the players to eventually discover by translating this new language. With the help of some very dedicated community members, a breakthrough has been made with this language. Now one of the most complex mysteries Treyarch has ever placed in zombies has now been fully decoded, allowing us the players to go in-game and translate every single thing you see to complete English phrases and sentences, meaning there are years worth of story stuff hidden in these maps that we are now going to finally be able to get our hands on. Before I go any further, I need to give a huge credit and shout out to Kaljitsu, Eric Maynard, and Bench, along with several others, spent about a week straight looking at the A to Z on how to translate this language. By this language, I mean the symbols you see on the summoning key, or the symbols that you see sprawled across the Pack-a-Punch on Shadows of Evil, or translating what the Warden says during the Blood boss fight, or the Apothicon blood in Tag der Toten. Even some of the hidden weapon boxes have Apothicon language written across it, and we can now translate it all. Some of you out here might be thinking, hang on a moment, this was translated a long time ago, and you're partially right, so I need to catch you guys up to explain how this has all come about and how this breakthrough has occurred. So back in December of 2015, Treyarch teased us about the translations of Apothicon via a behind-the-scenes look at Der Eisendrache, where they had a computer screen up showing some translations, which really got us excited. And skip over to April of 2016, where Jason Blundell teased a t-shirt which had a complete Apothicon language translation sprawled across the front and back. Milo, or Mr. Waffles, was very lucky, as he was the only person in the world that was gifted that t-shirt to translate Apothicon and keep her to the community, but it seems he didn't quite relay all the information on that t-shirt, and there's a lot of things which he missed out on explaining. By no means am I discrediting him or trying to say anything negative about the way he presented the information, because without him we would not have any idea what any of this Apothicon language means. But the information that he did present and teach us was translating Apothicon words into English and vice versa. It's only a limited pool of words, and the breakthrough that's just been made that I'm presenting to you is literally to the point where you can translate any sentence or phrase you wanted from English into Apothicon. So now with this, you can translate any English sentence you want into Apothicon. And what's even cooler is you'll be able to learn how to draw/write the language to say whatever you want, which is pretty damn awesome. Let's go ahead and explain how the language works and why you should care. Well, if it isn't already obvious in game, every word in Apothicon is a single symbol, but that symbol is made up of several radicals. For instance, when you see one of these symbols, for example, it's just one symbol, but it's made up of multiple of them combined to make one, and each separate one of these symbols is called a radical. Now, each individual radical has its own individual meaning, and so can give context or information not only about a word, but about the way the word relates to the Apothicons as a species or their views on certain things. An example that's given is a real-world example, such as the word Wednesday. It's easy enough to consider that as just a word on its own, but if you dig into the behind the scenes of it, there's actually a lot of history into how that word came to be, as Wednesday comes from Woden's Day, which in turn means Odin's Day, which comes from the Viking occupation of Britain when Odin was worshipped as a patron. But without knowledge of what makes up the word Wednesday, the analysis would be impossible. And the same is true with Apothicon. The real breakthrough here is the majority of the radicals symbols, these individual symbols that help make up words and phrases make sense, Milo had only shared a few within one video and not the entire t-shirt for every single radical. So this community group have had to take matters into their own hands to work out the rest. Let's go ahead and show you another Apothicon word and explaining how we get to the translation. So the word is going to be Zor-Arkoth, where on this sheet it shows that the translation means human, but if you split the word into its component radicals, which is Zor, Ark, and then Off, which can also be pronounced as Oz, you can learn a little bit about how the Apothicons view humans and why they call them that. So Zor means potential, Ark means open, and Off means change. So in that sense, Zor-Arkoth, even though it means human, could also be literally translated as being open to change. If you look at the Apothicon's history with humans, you could believe that it could be more liberally translated to as easily manipulated rather than being open to change, because we're not open to change. Now, this next example that Kajitsu gives, which is great for lore and practical example of translation, is the word Ozoth. Now, if you look at the word Ozoth and break it up purely from its spelling, you get the radical of off and Oz twice, because both those create the word Ozoth. Aside from the word alone, you need to look at the symbol it creates, and clearly you can see that it matches up for the radical for another word called Nog. Now, there are numerous examples of radicals that feature in the symbols of words, not necessarily their English transliterations, which can be seen much like silent letters in English, in that they're equally as important to be in the word, but you don't pronounce them. What's very interesting with this new breakthrough as well is you discover that the Apothicons don't have the concept of an I or a first person when they're talking. You can tell from maps like Blood and Tag der Toten that the Apothicons operate under a hive mind, but had we known the translations for these words several years ago, we would have been able to have figured that out much sooner, because Ozoth is made up of the words my, mine, our, and change. Hence what I mean by there being no first person. But the image itself that I've been showing in this video that's been created by these community members is a replication of the original Treyarch design document, which you see in the trailer for Horizon, as well as on that t-shirt that was given to Milo, and should be completely accurate. These guys had to work under conditions of not having the physical t-shirt to be able to translate absolutely everything. They've had to look through really blurry images and also fairly pixelated videos and frames in videos to be able to work out all of this stuff. I'm not going into too much detail on their process, but if you want to read more about it, then there is a link down below in this video's description. It's very, very fascinating. Like I said earlier, the fun part with this is you can create your very own words in Apothicon. And in order to do this, all you have to do is simply take the radicals that fit the word you wish to create and fit them together. You can see there's already a lot of full words on that list, but the radicals themselves can be disassembled to make a more aesthetically pleasing word. And in some cases, like the words parasite and elemental, they somewhat look like a pictograph, so symbol actually looks a little bit like what it means. Looking at some very simple words that we can translate is we can work out that servant is astagua, but if you break that up, asta and gua means hold and resource, so that makes a lot of sense, right? Then with the word blood is lorazor, which if you break that down, you've got law, Oz, and Zor, which means flow, change, and potential, which means there is a flow that has the potential to change. It makes sense, right, with the blood. Then ID gun, which is the Apothicon servant, is Na Oruja, which if you break that up, you've got Na, or, and Uja, which is bone, flow, and damage, meaning it's a physical thing made out of bones, which has the flow of something and then can cause damage. And then perk, which is Ulof, which if you break it up, Ula and off is consume and change, which makes complete sense. You consume this and it changes something within you. There are so many things which have yet to be fully translated within zombies, such as Shadows of Evil when it comes to the Pack-a-Punch and what it actually says, the swords, because each one of the swords has its own unique language on top of it. Mystery Box has its own stuff sprawled along it as well. This breakthrough is hopefully gonna have a lot of awesome stuff coming out from these old maps when it comes to lore and story with this language, which is now properly translated in the way that Treyarch intended all of the community to have access to. I think that's a great thing as well, because Treyarch went through such effort to create this unique language, which for the most part has stayed completely pointless for us to work out because it never really meant anything. But now we have the full picture. Not only can we create our own words, we can jump into Shadows of Evil and all the maps that include Apothicon symbols and be able to work out exactly what Treyarch placed there for us to work out and understand. Huge thank you again to Kaljitsu, Eric Maynard, Bench, and everyone else that was involved in spending the amount of time they did translating and working this all out. It's an important resource for the community, and I know this has been a long video and a very, very in-depth one as well. Hopefully you learned something, and again, if you want to learn more about this and how to fully translate it and get the full image yourself, it will all be linked down below in this video's description. But if you enjoyed the video, be sure to smash a like rating on it, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.